Hey everybody, welcome back to Bitcoin Tonight. Ulric, how you doing, man?
Happy New Year, Phil. Happy New Year, audience. Happy to start a 2026 not bear market with you and the audience. Let's effing go.
Whoa! You're just getting a little ahead of yourself, though, right? Well, it's only
Do you see
January.
the lights behind me, man? There, if you go back multiple episodes, I've been having red lights like all of November and December. It is green light episode 5. I am bullish in the short term, and it's nice to see Bitcoin almost touch 95,000 today. So I think we're going to have a nice January.
I get the impression that you're living inside an Omega candle. If
I was in an Omega candle, I may not be here.
In an Omega candle. Okay. Well, look, we've got some interesting topics that we're going to dive into here. What are we going to take a look at? 2025 year-over-year Bitcoin returns by fiat currency. That ought to be fun. That high IQ guy. That high IQ guy that
he keeps on popping up. He keeps, hey, don't forget me. Don't forget me.
And look, he's really smart, and he likes to remind us of that. We're gonna see what those smart decisions have led to. Now we're getting to the point where essentially it's all just AI and poly market, right? We're going to take a look at some gold over Bitcoin, right? Some stats, gold over Bitcoin. Nick Shirley, huh? Everybody got super excited about the Leering centers, and yeah, we're gonna take a look at a story that's going on there with some token stuff, and got actually a really interesting post here from KitSats, my Bitcoin Thesis. We're gonna take a look at that. Some pretty interesting talking points that I think both going to really enjoy, and of course BSV taking more L's. I don't think either of us are surprised. And not that we're going to talk about this last, but of course, it wouldn't be an episode of Bitcoin Tonight on January 5th if we weren't going to talk about Venezuela. So, because, right?
Of course.
I have to talk about Venezuela because everybody's an expert. So why not us? We're experts too. Boom, here we are. Anyways, before we dive into all that fun stuff, though, you guys know the deal. We're going to give a shout out to the Pleb Underground sponsor, Archimedes Emporium. We're going to be right back to dive into all those fun topics. Let's freaking do it. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium.
I see Rourke say, the audience always comes hard, right? Pause. Hi, I like this one right here. Ledger hack that keeps on happening. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
Was that maybe their business use case all along? Like, you know what I mean? Like we thought that they were out there making signing devices, but really, what if this has been their whole use case all? Because they seem to be proficient at this. It is the Ledger client list is becoming the gift that keeps on giving. It really is. It's just insane.
Let's see what we have on the good old slide deck. I didn't want to start off with that one. I want to start off with the fiat currencies. And guys, look, sorry that I don't have the zoom in. I was going to say maybe I should break it down and chop it, parse it so we can all read it. How about, you guys just trust me, bro, and we'll try to read it the best we can. Phil, there we go. We expanded maybe 10-15%. That should help out a little. Without going country by country, the big things that stick out to me is Venezuela. Venezuela is really, if you have Bitcoin if you're Bitcoin of Venezuela bolivars, you're doing well. If you have the Russian ruble, that would be one currency that you wanted to buy at the beginning of 2025. And you could see a bunch of currencies that are pegged to the dollar. The dollar is negative 6% on the year. And you see about maybe 20, 30 countries that are at -6 as well. So again, this is some short-term, bean counting, if you will. Phil, if you could summarize these 135 countries that are here right now, how would you best summarize it?
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah,
I mean,
the game is ignoring Bitcoin.
But the other thing is this: I just because I'm old and I'm just trying to figure out like who's the one that's doing the best. Is it the people all the way at the bottom right or at the top left?
That's right.
Like I'm just trying to figure out who's actually doing the best here.
And if anyone's just counting from year over year, you're already wrecked to begin with. You know, you think, oh, look, like Bitcoin's down 17%. I mean, I can remember, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, people talking about, oh, Bitcoin's only doing so and so over the last 3 months. It must suck now. Like, it's amazing how we are groomed to not have low time preference, how we're groomed to ignore a long period of performance, like we have the lifespan of an ant or of a small mammal. Like, we should try to think about, hey, what's our 5-year horizon, 10-year horizon, 20-year horizon? I mean, these are the kind of Bitcoin is the type of stuff that could pay for your children's college education. It could pay for a house one day. And for people to discredit it just because it goes down 6% for a year, those are the people that will end up finishing last.
All right, so I finally figured out the people at the top left are the ones that are doing the worst. I took Rourke's suggestion. I mean, like, to his point, right? They're all shit coins, but I took his suggestion. He's like, use the magnifier lens app. I'm like, of course. So
if they are Bitcoiners in that country, they are doing great.
Yeah. But you'll notice
this year only. Now, but that whole time, how long is it taken for I mean, we know Argentina. Oh, Argentina, Bitcoin up 18%. Guess what? If you discovered Bitcoin over the last year or two, that last 10 years, that last 100 years in the Argentinian peso, you have been wrecked against other currencies. Whereas Russia, guess what? Maybe you're recovering a bit from being outcast by the SWIFT system. And so you get a little leg up for a year. But guess what? If history proves itself, fiat currencies are all trending to zero against the big Bitcoin. Yeah, man.
Torapodl just wants us to clarify. Green is good.
I guess if you are a Bitcoiner in that country for this time frame, that would be the best I could say.
But not if you were holding the local currency.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you're holding the local currency, you are. Yeah, that's essentially the reverse. So, yeah, I mean, it's Bitcoin this is in my opinion, an anomaly. In fact, just from a up and both negative and positive, this has been the most stable year for Bitcoin in its entire history. If you start January 1st and end December 31st, so it's likely we're not going to see that this year. Where it ends, no one knows. But it's definitely, I could put some money on the fact that, or the potential outcome that it will be a little more than plus or minus 6%. Let's keep on pushing. We'll go to the next slide. Look, this guy popped up into our feeds, I think, at the end of 23, maybe end of 24, beginning of 25. This is the man in the world. He came in talking about Bitcoin, how it's great for the world. And then all of a sudden he sold all his Bitcoin. And then now he converted all his assets to XRP. Oh, and by the way, he became a Christian. And then also he became an authoritarian. Look, I just think that this is the type of guy that can't stand being out of the news, because guess what? He's probably monetizing on X. And if people ignore him for a moment, that's little dollar tokens that he's not getting in his bank account on a weekly basis. So Phil, his incentives is to say anything and everything that will cause some uproar. And looks like him converting all his assets to XRP, whether true or false, caused some uproar.
Well, if you go take a look at his profile, well, not now, but if you go take a look, he claims that he is now a key opinion leader, right? A KOL for XRP. So I mean, in all fairness, would I be surprised if he was getting some of that XRP Foundation marketing money? Nope. I would not be surprised at all. He has a massive Twitter account, X account, right? I mean, why not? Look at the engagement that he gets on his post. Like, this is it wouldn't surprise me one bit. And again, you know, the whole thing, right? Like Phil said, you know, not me, the Phil. Right, like these guys, it's always the same story, right? It's always the same story. They come to Bitcoin. Oh, they love Bitcoin. Look at me. And like in this particular case, he did the whole look at my creds, which are completely debatable. And I got to be honest,
and unverifiable.
And there's a few different YouTube channels that have like dedicated themselves to pushing back on this guy's claims of his IQ. But regardless of that, right? Comes in, hey, look at me, I'm super smart, I love Bitcoin, right? And so it definitely captures some, sorry to say this, low IQ people where they're like, oh my God, this guy's so smart, I think I'm gonna follow and do what he says. And look, it's just par for the course, right? Then all of a sudden, you've gained a big enough following, you've gained enough attention, and you can monetize that attention to a willing buyer. And of course, XRP, right? We all know that the whole business model is exit liquidity. I know they like to pretend that there's like a whole business model, but the reality is that it is simply just exit liquidity to keep the lights on, right? 55 months of dumping 1 billion new tokens onto the market per month. They need somebody to absorb that liquidity.
That's right.
So you always need this never-ending parade of garbage. Anyways, it's just, yeah, it's par for the course. As soon as we saw this guy the first time, you already knew he was a scammer. Didn't even have to bother checking anything else. Anybody that does this kind of BS where they flash their creds or they try to do some kind of signaling to indicate better than everybody else, and then I love this, you know that it's just hurting the noobs to milk the noobs. That's all it is.
I find this situation with Young-Hoon Kim to be so analogous to our own cadre of Bitcoin influencers that have said, look at how many followers I have, look at how trusted I am, look at how many people I talk to, and you should look at this Bitcoin treasury company as the next big thing, as the big thing for 2025 that will pump your bags even better than Bitcoin. I mean, as much as people mocked him, and you can see some of the mocking in the replies below, as much as people mocked him, how it's so funny how little mocking and negative feedback that the Bitcoin influencers got for marketing these companies that were essentially the epitome, the worst type of fiat possible. A fiat that claims to be backed by a hard standard. If you're going to be fiat, just be fiat. But to claim that you're fiat backed by Bitcoin, and by the way, and they told you the formula, and yet still they were cheered and applauded and retweeted and called net positive. But this guy gets, the big boot. We have to stop being hypocrites ourselves.
Well, I mean, like, in all fairness, right? That is kind of human nature, moral hypocrisy. That's like built into us, right? We will justify things that are good for our quote unquote clan, good for our group, right? Good for us as an individual, whereas we will also, by that same token or the other side, condemn somebody else doing the same thing. So it's an interesting play. I mean, like, look, it's not always like that. However, it becomes very difficult, right? Like it becomes in terms of existence, right? It just becomes very difficult. You find yourself, what do they call that? The paralysis of analysis. like if you analyze too much, you just can't do anything.
That's right.
Like, you can't use spoons, you can't use forks, you can't use knives. Like, there's nothing you can use. So it's
praxeology. Man must act, and if you're not acting, you're dead. Next slide.
That's a good point. Very good point.
So we have this, this guy, a podcaster, Bitcoin podcaster. He has a fun little tweet. He engages Grok. He said, "Hey, random day in the new year, remove the inferior money from this image." So Grok, in all its trust me broisms and AI hierarchy isms, removed Bitcoin. There are some fun, interesting replies, including replies from Grok rationalizing himself. But rather than go down the path of why Grok says what he says, maybe we can do our own analysis of what's going on here. I don't know, Phil. Is Bitcoin truly the inferior money to gold? And mind you, maybe let's give Grok the benefit of the doubt. Grok seems to be one of the better AIs out there, in my opinion, compared to ChatGPT or some of these other ones. I forget the one that's made. I mean, Google has a horrible one, and there's another one floating around that doesn't have a name for itself. So Grok seems to be a good product. However, maybe he's just comparing what's worth more, 1 Bitcoin or a kilogram of gold. Could it be that he's just saying, yeah, that's actually worth more buying power? Or does Grok really think that gold is better than Bitcoin? Maybe I'm a little confused. Maybe I just want feedback from you, Phil, and the audience. What say you?
I saw this and I was thinking, was this a troll? Like, was it fake?
That's why I asked him, like, did someone
because
do a little Canva work?
Like, maybe, I don't know, it seems kind of fake. Okay, so look, maybe how about this? Okay, how about this? Based on Bitcoin's qualities alone, right? I would say, of course, it's a better money. However, if we bring in gold's history, which Bitcoin does not have yet, which with every passing moment it does, maybe that's where it's getting part of its perspective. But to your point about the different AIs, I have found, so interestingly, I have a friend who always talks to me about using ChatGPT, and he tells me that he gets some whacked out results. Now, again, everybody uses AI the way that they're going to use it, so it's, whatever it is. Like, for me, I use AI specifically for doing research and specifically for verifying sources, right? Like, I'll go and ask Grok if it goes and has sources and what they are for this, and this, and then I'll go check those sources. So it's more for me of like a research tool. But I do find that Grok has better responses than at least ChatGPT in my case. But I do know other people, right, that use Claude and love Claude, but they're using Claude specifically for coding, right? So
different, yeah. I think from a research standpoint, which a lot of regular non-coders are using. And by the way, I'm taking a data science course, and I asked Grok to help me figure out this. I'm learning Python, and I'm like, hey, help me figure out this error that I can't seem to debug myself. I put my code in, it told me right away what I did wrong. So all of these things do a pretty good job at everything. I would say that I like that Grok is intertwined with a news aggregation platform so that it can essentially source itself, or find its sources from itself. It's like Grok will just go to X, look at all the stuff that's been posted, and it's native to it. So I like native tools tied to the AI. I think that's good for me. But I mean, to give feedback also, like, Grok could be looking at the 2025, the recent performance, which is easily encapsulated in a year over year. Gold crushed Bitcoin. It could look at the total market cap, but Grok did respond. It's like it understands its digital nature and how that's obviously a much better solution than the physical constraints that gold has. Also thinking about there was one other thing that said, I forget now, but I think Grok did a good job of caveating this quick yes or no decision, and I think Grok is generally pro Bitcoin and pro gold. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Let's see. What's the next one? So if we go on to the next thing, we have this conversation or this news topic with Nick Shirley. And for those who don't know, Tim Walt's former VP candidate, essentially basically said he's not running for Minnesota governor for the next election. And I would say that this story killed him when he was exposed by this video journalist about the Ethiopian child care facilities that essentially are money laundering schemes. And so for a minute, Nick Shirley was like the hero of the day, even though he's come out with many great videos in the past. He did an expose on the El Salvador prisons, a lot of fun things that he's done. He's truly an asset of the independent journalism industry. However, a few days after that, some people are discovering that there is a coin or a crypto project that says $ the Nick Shirley. And not only is this product out here, but it's claimed to have been shared by Elon, JD Vance, and Brian Armstrong. And on top of that, we find out that Nick Shirley has himself retweeted this project. And so Phil, it harkens back to, the Hawk Tuah girl. It harkens back to the Trump coin. It harkens back to the Peanut the Squirrel coin, even though Peanut the Squirrel, who is dead, probably didn't sign off on it. But it's like when you have this a little bit of fame and viral moment, what's the next thing? Kanye West also did it, I think, for a minute. Let's go make a crypto project to rug the people who are interested in me, because they're going to buy something that they have no idea what they're buying, and essentially funneling money away from your fans and to yourself. Phil, I was hoping that maybe someone was taking his name and his license to do some sort of nefarious activity, but he himself was retweeting it himself. It's kind of disappointing that these superstars continually take this path, and no one seems to think at a higher level that it's a bad action.
He also thanked the platform where
the Zora platform. What is Zora? Solana?
I think so. I think so. But just to add a little bit of context here, it's not Ethiopian, it's Somali.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's
my bad.
But it doesn't matter. But it's just so so that we're not offending. We're not offending. We got to make sure the right people. But look, in terms of this whole thing, right? He did something good, right? He did something good, and he exposed something that, and let's be right. I think we could be honest about this. What he exposed is just the tip of the iceberg. That's just what he found, right? Like that's what he found. There is so much more that goes on that we're most likely never going to know, because there are so many people involved, right? This was like, for the lack of a better term, low-hanging fruit. Right?
You're talking about the daycare.
I'm talking about the daycare fraud, right? Like what they were doing. Like that was like low-hanging fruit. It was something that, I'm not saying it's something that was easy to expose, but I'm saying there is much deeper fraud within the government that I believe, right? Because I have to say it's a matter of opinion. I don't have any evidence myself, right? But we do have to wonder how the Pentagon keeps failing its audits, right? Like if you fail, man, you fail your audits, you got to pay. And then if you don't pay, you go to jail. Pentagon fails their audits. It's like, no, it's okay. You're good, it's part of the, anyways, my whole point is that it's unsurprising, right? Like it's kind of unsurprising that do you think he knows really about Bitcoin? No, he doesn't. Do you think he really knows about shitcoin grifts? Of course not. Like for him, it's just, hey, look, I'm doing something, people are noticing it, and hey, people want to join in, and the worst part is it's like one of those creator tokens. So it's like that. What was that platform that Breedlove shilled that he was
right?
Experiment?
No, was it BitCloud?
Yes, BitCloud. So it's essentially like a BitCloud equivalent, but just on Solana. It's the same graph.
What was BitCloud on? Was it Ethereum?
I don't remember. I think so. I think so, yeah. But it's essentially the same, the same type of garbage.
Yeah.
So, it's too bad. However, I'm not really surprised. I just hope he keeps doing in not the shitcoining, of course, but in terms of exposing stuff, I just hope he keeps doing that.
Right.
Like not the shitcoining, but the other stuff. Like, yeah, it's good stuff, man. You keep doing that. But I hate that whole net positive argument. Like it's like, look, you can do good things and they can be good, and you can do bad things and they're still bad. Even though you did good things, those are still shitty things. Like it doesn't just all of a sudden absolve it. And that whole net positive argument just drives me crazy. Because it's like it's bullshit that people tell themselves so they can sleep. Like, just be honest with yourself. Anyway,
and the problem with that is that who defines what the net value of each component is? So he does his video exposés, and that's 15 points, and his crypto project is 8. Like, who defines what net positive is, anyways? As for all we have to do is compartmentalize and say, like you said, this thing is a good thing. Continue to do this. This thing, let's correct you. Let's tell you why that's bad. And if you want to keep doing it, you're going to be a bad actor in this regard. I mean, it's the same thing. You appreciate an athlete for that he scores 50 points a game, but guess what? He may lead a double life. He may abuse his wife. He may do all kinds of things that are destructive in other facets. That doesn't mean that he's a bad basketball player, or you don't want him on your team to help them win a championship. We have to keep things in perspective and keep them categorically speaking. Guess what? All rock stars probably have some dirt under them. Doesn't mean that they don't play a mean guitar and hit that note, right? So it's like we have to let's make sure we learn to put things where they need to be, and to score things where they need to be scored. And I do hope, Nick Shirley has a great track record in one aspect. I can only hope that this crypto project leads him down an orange rabbit hole, if you will.
I think Torup's comment here is fitting. Bailey didn't get to him first to help him to become a Bitcoin treasury company. Shucks. Yep.
Honestly, thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I rather, in all fairness, right? I rather the Bitcoiner, right? Like let it go in that direction, because if he's grifting with Bitcoin, then it's just like I don't know. I mean,
look, FTX crashed. It's hard enough. FTX crash. I'm snowboarding, and people see my little Bitcoin stickers on my snowboard, and I promise you, at least 3 people in one season came up, saw that. It's like, oh yeah, Bitcoin and FTX, it's a really bad thing. It's like, well, actually, FTX and Bitcoin are completely separate. And I spent the ski lift. We had 2 minutes. I tried to explain it, but people will take FTX crashing as a negative sign towards Bitcoin. And then in the same regards, they'll take the Bitcoin treasury companies crashing and failing and almost scam-like, let's just call a spade. And they will paint that as a negative picture for Bitcoin. We're talking about people who are on the fence looking. It's like, I'm wonder what about that asset. It looks bad when you have all these companies come in and they completely shit the bed for the 3 months that they're going public. But guess what? If you take on good projects and edifying projects and keep things, keep those grifts away from you, and all you can be judged on is Bitcoin, you start saying like, oh wow, Bitcoin, even when it's bad, it's still good. But how far do we have to go along before we get a cycle without some sort of Bitcoin related scam? Right now, I think Bitcoin and crypto have been separated pretty clearly. We can see that Solana is there and Bitcoin is over there. But now we have the Bitcoin treasury companies. What will happen in 29 or even before that? When will we collectively learn?
Yeah, I agree. I just want to go back to something BTC Moon Guy said before we move on. He said, because I thought the Somalis were the scammers, because when we were just talking about, we were explaining the government, or at least I was explaining about the government, and I just want to clear that up. So it's a multi-pronged scam, right? Obviously. So yeah, the people taking advantage of those grants and of those tax breaks, they're scamming 100%. But then there's the actual government agencies that are paid in, and one of their purposes is to make sure, right? It's like their whole job is to make sure to check that stuff out and make sure that these businesses are actually doing what they say they're doing. Like, I mean, if you've ever, and again, it depends on the type of business that you own, but I know that at least in my father's business, there were inspectors that would come by, right? They would come by multiple times a year. You didn't know when they were coming by or anything like that, right? And you had to be in line, right? You had to make sure that your business was actually doing what it said it was doing. You had to make sure that you were following the correct procedures for your business. And like it worked, and they would catch scammers, right? They would close down labs. They would close down different businesses. So for me, it's like a two-pronged scam, right? It's like the government obviously doesn't give a shit because it's not their money. There's zero accountability at the government level, and at the Somali person's level that was going and getting these tax cuts and getting these grants. Well, they're just filling out the forms, right? Hey, if you're not verifying and just getting the money, like, whose fault is it really? So it's a whole lot of, like, right, it takes two to tango, right? It's
like ACP said. I like this, what he said. It's a classic kickback scam. Like, for all those auditors, guess what? Centralized auditing, Bitcoin is audited in a decentralized way. There's no scamming that, right? But it's like these, hey, we only have, I said this last week, it only costs $10,000, maybe with inflation now, maybe $13,000 to sway a senator, So it's like these auditors come by, maybe Waltz gives him a phone call, or that mayor from Minneapolis, I forget her name. It's like, hey, you may want to look the other way. And by the way, you're incentivized if you're a director, a manager, mid-level government manager, and you get a call from some VIP like that, guess what? Well, my career's on the line. I'm watching Homeland right now. I'm seeing all these incentives at the top. It's like, I'm going back 15 years. I'm like, oh my gosh, the CIA. And it's like, yeah, of course he wants the VP to rise up so he can rise up. It's like, right? Everyone's scratching each other's back, and like you said before, you don't know how far that scam goes. By the time Shirley is knocking at the door, they were probably burning papers like in the back of a bio lab in Ukraine. I don't want us to get canceled. Oh my gosh. But it's like, those are the types of things that's like, okay, we've been found out. It's time to cut our losses. But you just never know how far that scam, that launder goes, for the people who create the rules for themselves. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What do we have next?
Oh, we got plenty.
Yeah, I'm loving the feedback from the I love taking Phil out the show.
Okay, I don't mind, man. Just take a rest. Sit back.
We're gonna save that. Well, yeah, you know what? Let's go to that one. I think that's kind of the
So let's do the Venezuela stuff.
That's kind of the keynote topic right now. This just came out last night. It was Friday that Trump took it upon himself to make his special operation. Definitely made you want to compare his special operation with the Russians, it was pretty clean. The Russians are still doing their special operation. But he went in, he took the president and his wife. They are, as of like a couple hours ago, he pleaded not guilty to whatever charges in the U.S. court that they claimed on him, probably all kinds of narco terrorism and stuff like that. And so over the weekend and today, I was thinking about that, and I was like, it's so funny. This is the Maduro capture pump. I get it. So how many other presidents do we need to capture to really get this thing going? Okay, maybe
each president gives a different pump, right? So what did this one give? Right, we got like
this
what?
Was a good 4 to 5,000. I mean, we're playing around at 89.
Hey, listen, the bigger the president, the bigger the pump. So, guys, get busy. You want to pump these bags? You don't want the Bitcoin treasury companies to be doing it. This is how you do it.
Look, I'm not, and of course, this is a thing that goes in my mind. And I'm not saying that Russia needs to go, bust down the door to Kyiv. Obviously, they have a different strategy, whether it's better or not. Hey, let's, I'm not going to talk about that, but let's just say that Ukraine and Russia finally stop teasing us and say it's peace. It's like whoever gets the Donbas and Lugansk region, if I say that right, my wife is going to kill me. But it's like, finally, it's peace. It seems like Bitcoin is like this. It's almost like this peace token, if you will. Like when all of a sudden the risk of Venezuelan open war goes away and then Bitcoin goes up. And so it's like if Ukraine and Russia kind of stop, I think we see maybe a $15,000, $20,000 pump. That's my thought. We'll see. And I mean, like Roman said, Russia and China are going to move in on, or China specifically risking or even hinting at, how the US did this is how we would do that with Taiwan. It's like that's kind of putting a damper on the Bitcoin price. But hey, this is near-term stuff. Bitcoin's not a dollar peace token, right? It's not going to say, everything's good and Bitcoin's supposed to go up. Sooner or later, people are going to see that the Bitcoin is truly a counterweight, a wager against the fiat system. And all this world peace under the fiat constructs we have, that can only last so long. But once this is all done, once all this fiat stuff is done, Bitcoin is still going to be pumping TikTok next block. So we just have to wait this phase out, if you will. But Phil, I've been talking for a while. You did some investigative research on the 600K Bitcoin that allegedly is out there somewhere. Maybe did that cause Trump to say, hey, we need that for our strategic Bitcoin reserve? What did you learn in your rummaging through the internet?
So I think that as a Bitcoin enjoyer, I'd like to believe that the president wants to seize that already seized Bitcoin, because that's where Venezuela got their Bitcoin from. It's seized. To seize that Bitcoin for its own treasury, right? Of course, I'd love to believe that. I'd love to believe that this is like one of the main reasons and all that stuff, and the whole game theory and the 4D chess, and this is brilliant.
Are you sure? So you're clear. Yeah. You're clear that they seized their Bitcoin, that they didn't do it through like early market purchases or.
According to,
I heard that they sold some gold for some Bitcoin early on in 2020.
I saw that as well. But I also saw another source that indicated that it was seized. So I think we can, in my eyes, somewhere in between there, I'm sure there is some that they possibly purchased, and most of it they most likely seized. I mean, if we look at the way that governments function, and if we take a look at the current playing field, right. How many governments are actually quote unquote purchasing Bitcoin and or mining it? We know there's what is it? There's Kazakhstan, there's Bhutan, there's El Salvador.
I think Argentina is mining now, and I don't know if I was dreaming. I thought I heard Japan was mining. Yeah, audience, exactly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Japan mining Bitcoin? Am I tripping? Someone let me know.
No, so they just, all they did was okay the framework, right? And it's all about stable coins. I'll talk about this probably tomorrow or the day after. But yeah, they've been talking about this for like 2 weeks, that Japan has now finally opened its eyes and decided that's it. They're going to put in the regulations, boom, bring in the stable coins.
America did like in 25 with all their stable coin bills. Okay. Yeah.
So to Rourke's point, right? Exactly. No one knows anything. So look, what we believe, right, or what we're being told is that they have this 600,000 Bitcoin, but that it's not even the entire story, right? The whole thing that makes this really interesting is that this Bitcoin is not actually controlled by the Venezuelan government or even by Maduro, right? It's controlled by one person who was an ex-DEA informant, this guy Alex Saab, okay? And he's the one who set up the whole entire infrastructure for their quote-unquote crypto holdings. So this is I don't know if see this guy, right? When they brought back Maduro, they didn't bring this guy back. I'm going to talk about this all tomorroay anyways on the Daily Live. So it's kind of funny we're talking about it now, but it doesn't matter. It's
hint at it, but don't blow your whole story. Yeah,
no, it doesn't matter. Hey, look, at the end of the day, it's news that has to be right. It's stuff that we've got to talk about because it's important and it's what's happening, you know? Yeah, I totally went down the rabbit hole. Shout out to Lola Leets, because Lola Leets reached out to me last night and was like, did you hear about this story about Venezuela? And I said, yes. And she goes, what do you think? And immediately I said, I think this is total BS. And
that's what I said to you.
Yeah, there's a good possibility that it's true. And I said to her, I said, you know what? I go, how about this? I go, I wouldn't be, it's the same on both sides. If this story was BS, I wouldn't be surprised. If it isn't BS, I'm also not surprised.
What are you more surprised of?
Neither. I honestly, I feel like it's like a giant
49.51.
No, like their Bitcoin. I think this is like, honestly, like it's an interesting story in terms of like if they have this Bitcoin. But I think what's more interesting is the whole the playing field that's kind of, because depending on the narrative that you listen to, right? Essentially, the U.S. being over there is kind of pushing Russia back. Like, because if I'm not mistaken, there's Russia and China that are in Venezuela. So this kind of pushes them back in terms of the, you know, if we're playing the game of risk. So, you know, yeah, exactly. BTC Moon guy, you know, Taco Pleb. Yeah, we could get into that whole story.
So before you answer that, I did want to tug on the China and Russia thing. The Monroe Doctrine is generally U.S. gets the Western Hemisphere, Europe gets Africa, you know, Russia gets like the Middle East generally, and that's why Russia and U.S. hate each other, because U.S. says we want the Middle East too. My question is, and I guess maybe the Russia one is not a part of the Monroe Doctrine. It's more of Europe, and Europe is Africa, U.S. is South America. Is Russia and China, do they have tendrils in Venezuela? And I guess they're communists, so I wouldn't be surprised, but they like legitimately have a big presence there. And did the US just like swoop in and say like, now you have nothing because they took out Maduro? I'm not big on the global politics, especially in South America. So if you can summarize.
I mean, look, I am also not that big into it, but from what I have read, they do, or they did. And this kind of throws a wrench, right? This throws a wrench in their plans, at least over there.
Because they had a whole bunch of oil that was not either not refined or not being sold. It's just sitting dormant.
But just think about it, right? If you're the U.S. and you're the government and you believe that these countries are quote unquote enemies, right? You don't want them in your backyard. Venezuela is a stone's throw away from Florida.
That's right. It's very, very Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean?
It's like, yeah, exactly. So it's kind of one of those. But okay, so the other piece to it is this, right? Okay, if you believe the idea of the late stage empire, okay, if you believe, because historically that's what we have seen. If you believe the theory of the late stage empire, this could also be a strategic way of huffing and puffing. Right, because Venezuela is not really like a big country, right? It's something that look right over here, like I just said before, right? It's like a metaphoric stone's throw away. This was kind of like an easy move to do, and in terms of like a show of strength is much bigger. You know, it's kind of like a loud barking dog. Yeah. Right. It's like a small dog that barks loud. And I'm not saying, you know, the US is a small dog, but I'm saying that like, well, if we're at that point in the late stage empire where we kind of know that the money printing is completely running away, well, we know what comes next. And unfortunately, part of that equation is the government of that said empire starts to do more shows of grandeur in order to create the idea of massive strength. So anyways, it's, you know, to me, like, I don't prescribe to any of these theories, you know, like 100%. And I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely sure. Look, I don't fucking know, but I do appreciate listening to all these different points of view. And, you know, like you just get to see how it plays out. Like I find the spectator is like, it's like, I want to be safe in all of this. Right. So I'd rather take the point of view of a spectator, because if I have to go and like start picking sides and dig my heels in, you know what? That might make me too rigid to be able to absorb new information. So yeah.
Well, let's take a turn on some history. Let's turn on the history channel for a minute, the Bitcoin history channel, and let's go back to what is
Taco Plebs.
A Taco Pleb.
Well, I'm not the best person to explain this. I'm a decent person to explain this, but really we would need the angry Chihuahua or pirate.
Or beach bum, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the first episode of Pleb Underground that we ever did 3 years ago, Pirate actually gives the whole entire history of the taco plebs. But essentially what it is this, okay? The TLDR is this. There's a bunch of these influencers that were talking up all of their, so 2 cycles ago, it was really huge to go to these carnivore dinners, right? And all these guys.
It still is.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
I'm
I can't
totally
be
falling out of the loop.
I mean,
You know?
even like Andy Estrom, who lives around the corner from me, like he'll invite me to, you know, the red meat dinners that he'll have maybe once a year now, maybe twice a year. I'm like, look, dude, I don't eat red meat, but I'll hang out, and then maybe something. I'll show up, and then I'll have a shot or a drink or something, and I'll eat some. I don't know. Some cake, or if they even have it. They don't have no food for me. I show up for 30 minutes. I take my ass home. But yeah, they still have them. So just so you know.
I'm not. I just. I guess I'm kind of surprised, right?
They do, yeah.
I feel like it totally died because I just didn't hear about it anymore on the Twitters.
All the conferences as well. They always have. They still have those sidebar meeting. Like 2024, when I was out there with Walton, there were definitely ruminations or hints of whatchamacallit, red meat meeting. I don't even know what do you call them? The carnivore dinners? Yeah. I hear them, and it's like, oh yeah, you can. It's like invite only. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm throwing up in my mouth. I don't care. So they do.
Yeah. So this is what was happening, right? And it was like, just think of it like this, right? You remember how big everything was with like the pots and pans, right? The iron skillets.
Oh, the iron skillet. Yeah.
You know how everything just gets really blown up in this space, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, you've got to sun your balls, and you've got to just eat meat, and you have to live in a cardboard box, have no chairs, all that shit. Okay, fine. So it was just, but the steak dinners was just, I guess, becoming super annoying at the time because it was just like a really big loud echo chamber. So Pirate, the Angry Chihuahua, and a few others, I think it was Pirate that put out the actual post of a taco carnivore dinner, right? And it was just a picture of like a giant table with a whole bunch of tacos all over it. And he was just like, something like, oh, I had an amazing time at the taco dinner. And that's essentially where the taco carnivore pleb originated from. It originated from trolling the influencers about their carnivory. That's all it was. But then what started to happen was that a lot of people just started to push back on many different influencers and the ridiculous narratives, and it became a whole lot more people, right? Like, and then all of a sudden, like, you had like hundreds of people that were just like, pushing back on a lot of nonsense and bullshit. And here, see,
I was just gonna do it. Yeah, hold on, let me. Okay, you got it.
You know what? If he would ever actually come on the show, I've asked him.
Come on, Bob.
When I was on with Bitcoin already back then, I asked him to come on the show, and he didn't. And then
he's going to come on now that I'm asking.
I ask him all the time, and he was like, "Maybe I will, and he never does." And anyways, so yeah, he could explain the story better, and add in all of the drama that I don't remember. Yeah, and that's it. This is exactly the point, right? The influencers thought it was real and got jealous. It's so funny. It totally stole their thunder. It just completely stole their thunder, and it was freaking hilarious.
But it's like, the influencer must be taken seriously at all times. And if they're not, then they're not influencing anyone, because like they're just words on a screen. And it's like, if they're seen as a joke, then it's like, well, what are they here for? So it's, you're really attacking their existential. It's a really existential attack. That's exactly what it is. And it probably pissed them off. Again, I was playing around with Tron at that point in time, so I was definitely far away from this type of dialogue. But I'll tell you, I love the print. And I remember when I showed up at the Atlanta conference, I'm like, I gotta have that shirt. Like that. And I think it was the last, one of the last ones. I'm like, I'm so happy it was a large or an XL, because if it was a medium, I probably would have just turned it into a cutoff. I love this one. It's my favorite shirt that I like to wear. I wear it to church. I wear it to work. I wear it to anywhere where I know that I can hang dry afterwards. I'm not wearing it to work out. So it's a great shirt. Love to be a part of the pleb underground. And the underground message of, hey, this is exactly what in my opinion, this is exactly what we're here for from a fight against fiat perspective. We don't take that seriously at all, right? We don't take all the stuff that people see, the dollar. I mean, people worship the dollar. People worship the constructs. Jamie Dimon said everything. Everyone be quiet. It's like, we don't take that seriously. And every year we're just proven right. We're just proven right. I mean, Jamie Dimon, he's now coming around in this like crypto. He was completely dismissive of anything crypto. Now at least he's saying blockchain is cool, and he offers Bitcoin, to his customers now. Again, what's his name from BlackRock was doing the same thing. But these people are the reason some people get up in the morning. Whatever these people say, that's the gospel truth. And we've been tossing their words out for years. And this is just another example of it. So I love this shirt, what it means, and its meta meaning with regards to fiat and Bitcoin in general, fiat and money in general. So great story. And Dieter, Bob, we would love to have you on the show if you could, on a Friday morning and kind of talk this thing through. That would be pretty good. Full name is Taco Carnivore Bitcoin Pleb.
TCBP.
Shout out to the Telegram group that it's kind of falling a little flat.
Oh no, it's totally dead. It's totally dead. You don't need to try to even like be nice about it.
Hey, I'm just happy. I'm happy to be a part of it, though.
Listen, it's like, look, that chat used to be like,
it was popping. When I joined, it was still popping. I was like, oh, I'm a newbie. I'm just gonna sit and watch because these people look kind of angry and mean, and it's like,
you know what used to happen? It was great. Influencers used to go in there specifically to get roasted. I remember like Udi would go in there just to get his ass handed to him.
Who?
Udi.
Oh Udi. No.
Udi and that was before he got into ordinals. He was still pretending like all like Bitcoin stuff like that. This was when he had done his redemption arc of being a shitcoiner. That's the second time he had done the redemption arc. A lot of people don't know the whole story or the whole history, but he's done the redemption arc a few times. But he went there, got his ass handed to him. Another time, Peter McCormack also came into the got his ass handed to him.
Peter, why do people? What do people? They really think they can go in there and just say like, "I'm here, bitches." Like, what the hell are they expecting?
So funny, and like they're expecting like I don't know what they're expecting, but they definitely weren't expecting what they got. That's for sure. And hey, look, in all fairness, it's fun. It's just fun.
Yeah, shout out Rory. Rory would be in there.
Rory,
and Peter, Bob, and
all these guys.
So many good plebs that I would one day like to meet in person if I haven't met them already, and they're just like staying low key. Who knows? But definitely a good place that when I was an early Bitcoiner, my time like 2020, early Bitcoiner, it was cool to be around those guys and see like, hey, this is what it's really about. We don't need to simp for anybody because they have a podcast and a few 100,000 followers. So shout out to all you guys out there. You guys were pioneers for sure. We're going to move on. I think this topic will be interesting to say the least. Kit, who's been on the show recently, Phil interviewed her a few months ago. Say that again.
Golden Tallow. That's her.
Yep, that's right. That's her business.
Yep.
And I think that kind of plays into this post as well. Her business, associated with her Bitcoin thesis, is to never end up here. And I want some feedback from the audience. I'm going to give my own feedback as well. Again, we see that these are cubicles, no windows. Everything looks monotonous, the same. Probably lends little office space feel, maybe the office feel. Definitely robotic, drone-like. And so I see this post, and I'm gonna chime in first, because my early career, I worked for the government. I've always been associated with and people can find my Twitter, my LinkedIn, and I ain't got nothing to hide. Always been associated a little bit with the DoD, either directly worked for them, or I was a contractor that built some good things for our Air Force or Space Force customer. And most of the first half of my career looked like that. The second half of my career looks like, I'm working in sort of a closed environment that's even worse. It's like you have to have a key card and credentials to get into there. But the difference is that, and I like what Roman's saying there, as long as you can get some funds to stack, some people call that fiat mining. And some people, my mom is different. My mom's an entrepreneur. She's been a realtor, a salesperson, a middleman for major transactions for like selling boats and whatever for years. She could never have a boss. And my mom has seen this show plenty of times, and she would admit that, truthfully to herself as well. I don't mind having a boss, especially when my boss shares my worldviews a little bit. When he watches my shows once in a while, I tell my boss, hey, make sure you catch me on Mondays on Bitcoin Tonight or on my old shows on Swan. So I like my relationships with my coworkers. I like fighting for Bitcoin. I like going into the office, especially if it's close to home. I only live about 5 miles from work. It's easy to be in there. However, there's some bad things about that type of environment. You have to answer to someone, and Phil, you've had that time and you are no longer in that time. Of course, we all work so that we can no longer work, and I think Kid is in that place right now. The problem is that, like Roman said, what's the quickest way to get to that point? I'm not much of the entrepreneur. I feel that I create value best in the engineering work that I do, the engineering solutions I provide my company, and that company provides to the Space Force. That could be different for her, me, you, Phil, Humble. Everyone's different. So I guess my Bitcoin thesis is a little different, where I want to end up where I want to be the quickest way possible, while doing as much as what I want to do in the meantime. I'm doing the Pleb Underground. I'm doing my basketball YouTube. I'm lifting weights. I'm shooting baskets. I'm playing poker. I'm hanging out with my family. So I do have a little bit of my time, but some of my time goes to other things as well. So that was a long-winded response to her, to say that I think she's partially right. Phil, I'll give the floor to you.
This brings up memories.
Yeah, I know it does.
Yeah, it definitely does. So one of my first jobs ever, after I got my education, was working at Hewlett Packard. I troubleshot Unix, or like these HP UX systems. So I was like a first line troubleshooter, and sitting in a cube like that definitely brings back some fond memories. So look, this is what I'll say. Having worked for myself, having worked in that environment, and then having stayed in that environment for about 20 years, I can say this. You can call it a cope, but this is what truly drove me to continue to reach for each step in my life. No matter where I worked, no matter what I did, I always worked for myself. It doesn't matter whether you work for somebody else. Look, a lot of employers are going to try, especially when you work for massive corporations, massive corporations are going to attempt to indoctrinate you into
their culture.
Yeah, not only into their culture, right, but believing that you're part of some family, or that somebody gives a shit about you over there, some shit like that. This is fucking nonsense. Okay, yeah. This is so that they can extract the maximum out of you. That's what that's about. Okay, and I've seen some really solid people turn their jobs, their careers, into who they are. I've talked about this in the past. It's a frightening thing. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't put effort or anything like that. No, of course not. 100%. If you want something, then you are going to put the effort in. What I'm saying is that don't mistake that person sitting in that cube for who you are. That is a tool that you are using in order to achieve your goals. as a human, as a person, whatever it is, your family, your friends, whatever endeavor you have, all it is a tool. Okay. And in my eyes, as long as you see it that way, then I think that that corporate life doesn't get you down. So I understand her perspective of never ending up in that cubicle, but I will say this. There's a lot worse stuff that you can be doing. And I've done it for a living. And in all honesty, you know, there's way worse out there. And the other thing is this, right? When people are working in those jobs and they think to themselves, you know, I can't seem to get ahead, you know, like, you know, I'm just a number here or whatever it is. Something I learned, which most people will not do. Okay. And if you do it, you should see results. I really believe you will. Most people only give about 10% effort. You know, you may not want to believe it, right? But most of the time, most people, they give the bare minimum to grind out a check, and that's okay, right? To each their own, right? I mean, if the employer is willing to accept that, then hey, who the hell am I to, you know, like...
That's right. It's their problem, not yours.
But if you want more out of that tool, right, that job, if you want more out of it, then you know what you do? You show initiative. Right. And it may like, and it's not the kind of thing where there's an immediate gratification. There isn't. Right. Like when I was working in tech support in level 1, I was all the way at the bottom. I was like, how do I stand out? How do I get to that next step? Well, I started to just create projects for myself that made other people's jobs in my job easier. And by doing that, I ended up getting bumped up to a position that didn't even exist. And I believe that that's possible for anybody.
They made a position for you.
Yeah,
that's
right. They made a position.
Good.
Yeah, it is. And again, like it's, you know, I don't think, trust me, I am not anybody special. Believe me. The only thing that I did was that I wanted to do things for myself. That's all it was. This was a tool to get ahead. And I had to think to myself, okay, well, if I'm not an entrepreneur and I can't up my sales, how do I up my salary?
That's right.
Right. That's the only thing I could work on, because I'm not selling anything. Right. I can't make commissions. So what am I supposed to do? Well, I have to find a way to be more valuable to this company so that they'll pay me more. That's what I did. And so again, this whole long roundabout story is just to say that any job that you do, it doesn't matter what it is. Okay. There is no shame in making any money. Okay. There's no shame in putting a roof over your head. There's never any shame in putting clothes on your back, food in your mouth, all that stuff. It's always a tool. That's all it is. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't please don't
really
apologize.
Talk about this because I thought it was really important. Like a lot of people, because especially in Bitcoin, right? You see a lot of people sit there trying to flex online, like they're all right. Like
the influence,
you're a loser. You work for somebody else, and that's right. Like that is just shallow. These people are fucking scared. Okay, that's all.
The cool part about that, Phil,
the people that are commenting about that, some of these people have never done a fucking honest day's work in their lives.
That's
okay?
a lot of it freaks me out. I ain't dropping no names. I don't care. I'm not trying to alienate any particular people and their business, whatever I may know about their private life. But there are a lot of people out there that are not plebs. Okay, because plebs, like, that's the average, the average, go-getter, the average person out there that doesn't have that easy street to whatever sort of nirvana or whatever self-actualization would have you. These people don't need Bitcoin. A lot of people have come into the space seeing an opportunity to influence people, and their Bitcoin, their great self-actualization is not the Bitcoin, however, rather the influence that comes from a new industry that is the Bitcoin industry at large. People are discovering it. There's a culture that is developing around it, and they want to be at the forefront of that. They are trailblazers with regards to lifestyle. And you see that with the carnivore diet. I mean, everything about how you should work out, how you should wake up at 4 a.m.
The ice bath.
Good. You wake up at 4 a.m. Guess what? I could probably out bench press you, and I wake up at 7:45 because my job doesn't expect me there till 8:30 or 9. Guess what? I make my own hours and I work for the man. I work for a company that's who their most of their customer base is the Department of Defense. But guess what? I make my own hours. So it's like that whole narrative about how thou shalt live. These people, they could be here and gone tomorrow because their money is taken care of for them. They don't care if Bitcoin goes up or down as long as you're liking and retweeting their posts, their videos on YouTube or Twitter or TikTok or whatever. So it's like we need to take a step back and say, why are these people talking to me? For what reason? Are they up here for hyper Bitcoinization? This ain't for me. I'm just about burning down the dollar and saying, hey, Monopoly taught me that there's a set amount of money. That's a bad example because you can start creating paper. But every game that I've played, everything that I've learned about what money is in my formative years, it's like you're playing in an environment where you just can't go pull money from another game. This is a world you have to play in. So play in this world. But somehow the way the world actually works, that money can be created by our superiors, our what would you call it? Our lords and ladies. And those people that are influencers, they want to be that person more than they want Bitcoin to win.
I think that's a very good point. And that's the thing about Bitcoin, right? It exposes your incentives. Everyone's over time, eventually, right? It exposes everybody's incentives. I just want to add a couple of things here from the comments. Yep. Dieter Bob. So he said, Phil, this is what influencers do, right? They shame, and this is when we were talking about the jobs, right? And this is how the Bitcoin pleb movement started. Exactly. This is all part of it, right? Like these people were attempting to shame and bully us into specific behavior, right?
So you can be like them and you can worship the lifestyle that they have given to you.
Exactly. You know,
so new lords and ladies.
Yeah. And then there's this comment here from Rourke. Remember when Swan Bitcoin co-opted the pleb name and built a corporate company around it? That's right. I totally remember that. And look, you know, I remember when I had my Fun with Bitcoin podcast, they sponsored me and I fell for it.
It's a good business model, especially if you're early.
Dude, hey, look, we can see it, right? Like you can see it. If you want to sit there and sensationalize an engagement farm, there is tons of money to be made.
I mean, look at it. I mean, American HODL is like the pioneer of that. I'm sorry. I mean, if we're going to name drop, he's the classic archetype of an influencer, and an influencer that's here today, gone tomorrow, and back here and gone tomorrow. Like I haven't been around that long. I've been around for a cycle and a half, 2 cycles maybe. I remember when HODL left, came back, and he's gone again. I haven't seen a HODL tweet or anyone retweeting him for months now. I guess it wasn't going to 1 million like he said, so he has to kind of lay low until it's time for him to shill some sort of hyperbolic lifestyle, like and talk about himself so he can sell someone's podcast, because that's what they do. They use him to sell someone's podcast. Any podcast he's going on, those people are paying him so that they can sell how relevant their podcast is, because he sells hopium.
Yeah.
And people buy into it, even still to this day. I've talked to people like, why are you listening to that guy? Like, that guy's, anything he says, go the opposite way. You want to short Nancy Pelosi, or you want to buy Nancy Pelosi, you want to inverse Kramer, you can inverse HODL, you'll be fine.
People don't remember that he was telling people to take loans against their cars and mortgage their houses at, I don't know if it was the previous top or the one previous before that. I don't remember which cycle it was. But it doesn't make a difference, because all of those accounts, right? It's number 8. So there's 7 previous accounts that said a bunch of shit that no one's ever going to know. Right. So nobody knows. But going back here, Roman is asking about Swan. So this was during COVID. So essentially, right, what happened was,
wow, I didn't know that. That's what when they were saying, like,
you got to remember
him like co-opting the pleb word. Were they even Swan? They just became Swan from Give Bitcoin. Okay,
Swan from Give Bitcoin, exactly right. And they had started right. There was the bunch of different podcasts that were all shilling Swan. So that was about like 2020, 2021. But by the time the Bitcoin 2022 conference came around, right, they had their Swan Force, right? They didn't have
right. I was there. I remember seeing that was before I knew him. Right. He didn't go to that because at that point he was very him and the Bitcoin conference were very at odds, but they just showed up. They didn't even have a booth. They just had the Swan Force.
And that was their peak. I mean, in terms of the
influence.
The influence and stuff like that. And the other scary part about it was that somebody, I don't know if it was Predator, it was most likely Predator that shared this. There was a slide deck indicating how, and again, they didn't co-opt the plebs, but there was a slide deck indicating that they had substantial influence amongst plebs. It's just something to think about. It's very interesting. It was very interesting, the type of stuff that happened.
Yeah, I mean,
Swan. Exactly.
I was there for 7 months. Look, Corey's been kind to me, but there have been marketing strategies that have obviously not worked. And they're still kicking. So good for them. And I hope they find a true realistic business model that's honest, and that's if you can last and try and go through going through growing pains essentially, and at the end of it you're still breathing, good on you, because a lot of businesses just absolutely outright fail. And I'm happy to call him a friend, and I hope that they find themselves. That's the best I could say. But again, there's a lot of growing pains in the Bitcoin world. Like what can Bitcoin companies do? What is truly a Bitcoin company? The idea that these companies are making fiat profit. If they're selling Bitcoin, I've always wondered, why are you selling Bitcoin if it's the greatest thing? If it's the greatest thing on God's green earth, like, wouldn't you want to have any amount that you come across for yourself? So it's like, there's the incentives of what are we doing here? At the end of the day, it's true. It truly is a frontier.
Yeah, it really is. And Rourke gave a suggestion. I agree with this. River is doing it right. They've got they're doing a full stack sovereignty custody solution, right? Yep. That's also the same thing. Mahler's also, tried him. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if he necessarily just tried to buy the plebs, but he definitely he was good at marketing, right? He was good at bringing in the the people.
He wears the hoodie, and it's like he's sloppy clothes. He talks like he's from Chicago, little Chicago accent. I don't even know if that's right, but his dad made the whatchamacallit,
Chicago
futures market. He practically his grandfather practically invented it. His family's worth, if not $1 billion, $500 million. He's worth probably 100 million himself. Look, he's not a pleb. Okay, they're actors, and he's probably one of the chief actors out there. He's trying to look like you so you can assimilate. So he's trying to affiliate with you so you can affiliate with him.
It's the Steve Buscemi meme. How do you do
Saturday Night Live guy?
No, it's Steve Buscemi. It's how do you do, fellow kids? Come on, you've seen this. Hold on a second.
Yeah. How do you? Yeah, with the skateboard. I didn't know. Oh, he was from Boardwalk Empire and like a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like it's literally that.
How do you do, fellow?
How do you do, fellow kids? And the guys.
There's a lot of guys in Bitcoin doing that.
Skateboard on it.
Guys and girls. I mean, we've talked about this. How many female influencers come in and it's like, oh, look, they were around, back in 2020, Natalie Brunell's friends who are from New York. And it's like, these girls are trust fund kids, and they come around, they're like marketing directors for Lowly or whatever they are. And it's like, these girls disappear as soon as Bitcoin dumps 20%. and then they come back maybe for a little, but they're on to the next thing. They're dating, you know, athletes and movie stars. Like, they ain't got time for plebs. They're not really a Bitcoiner. Like, can we just be realistic? Like, it's almost like, you know, we're living in some sort of science fiction novel. Like, don't get duped. Don't get duped by, you know, pretty faces or a big smiley face. Bitcoin is about getting rid of the facade that everything's good. And I mean, I remember Jeff Booth talked about this on some of his interviews back, you know, a couple years ago, that he hopes that things don't get bad before they get good. He has hope for that. But when you think about it, the fiat system isn't going to just fizzle out. It's not going to go down without a fight. I mean, if you see the things that are happening, if the United States has to, you know, go get the president of, you know, a country, because guess what? We need their oil and we can't negotiate with them. If this is truly what it's about, again, everyone knows that if I'm going to vote for someone, it would be Trump 10 times over the last 10 presidents that have been around. But if he's really going after that oil, it's like, if he really needs to steal to stay up, you know, you got to wonder, you know, are we, like you said, are we feeling out, you know, the end of empire kind of stuff? Things get worse before they get good. Hyper Bitcoinization, you may have some sort of big war. It may not just be, you know, the peaceful revolution or the, you know, people like to say that.
No, it definitely won't be. There's still going to be this whole idea that we're not going to have kinetic war, right? Like, it's still happening. And if you think for a second that there isn't going to be a excuse or reason to use all of this newfound AI war technology,
the Clone Wars is upon us, seriously
mistaken. Yeah, exactly. You know, so like, we're not far from that. You know,
they're not just going to stand down and say, oh, okay, yeah, you know, our fiat sucks, so we're just going to adopt a Bitcoin standard, and all the opportunities that we have, we'll just give it to you plebs.
Yeah, it's like that, man. It's
over my dead body.
Look, I mean, you can. It's happened time and time again, right? A tyrant amasses an absolute amount of power, and they usually just hand it over, no questions asked, right? Like, that's it. They say, hey, I've got all this power. I'm done with it. I've done what I can do with it. Here you go. /S. I mean, come on. You know I'm being sarcastic. Like, that's fucking nonsense. Nobody's
like, never, right?
Like, it never happens. Of course not. You know, so of course there's going to be it is going to be a bit of a shit show, right? But I think what people need to take away from this is that the clock doesn't stop ticking, right? Like, just because these things may come to pass, it doesn't matter. There's still a bright future ahead.
Right.
It doesn't matter. This is just the mechanics. This is what happens, right? You've got governments that overextend themselves. We've gotten to the point now where the US government, amongst many, many others, has completely overextended itself. There has not been another thing besides money printing in a very long time. So the jig is up. So now it's just a matter of keeping the runway going, whatever we can do to kick the can down the road. Stable coins, fantastic, right? We can kick the can down the road, force people to buy those treasuries. But make no mistake, the empire clock ticks on. There's other world entities that are fighting for power. However, none of them really want to be the world reserve, because what we are going through is the same fate as every single other empire in history that has been the world reserve.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever escaped this fate of the country overextending itself, printing too many dollars, causing mass inflation, causing hyperinflation. Like, it's the same story again and again. So
the good thing is that
we're just lucky that we have Bitcoin. Like, that's
right. And I was going to say that because Bitcoin continues to run despite all of that. You would have to burn down the entire world from a technological standpoint. And even still, you got a satellite up in space that has a node, I believe. So
we only need one node. We only need one node and one miner.
We're good.
I want to bring the same thing.
Say that again.
I said technically they can be the same thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, now at this point we have like all of these like crazy little, like some of these at-home miners that come complete with their own mining pools and everything like that. So like the Bitcoin wallet, it has like all these different web apps, and then on top of that, it's got its own mining pool and everything. So it's pretty crazy.
Programmable money is a great thing, especially when no one explicitly and outright owns it. So I want to talk about, speaking of the advancements of Bitcoin, Jameson Lopp brought up an interesting point that one projection that he won out on. What did he say? So the end of the U.S. empire is bullish for Bitcoin. Yes, yeah. I do believe that, even though everything about Bitcoin right now is like, oh, guess what? Good economics, good job report, Bitcoin going up. Bad job report, Bitcoin goes down. It's the most clown world year I've ever seen with regards to Bitcoin. But it's I think before we bring this up, I would say the most Bitcoin the best Bitcoin reaction to news I've ever seen, and I felt so good. And I'll never forget, I was in Mammoth Mountain. It was like I was about to start it, like, it was the end of it was after the FTX debacle, a few months after. It was like late season, February, March. One of those crypto banks died. And when I saw the crypto bank died,
you're talking about like Signature Bank or
Silicon Valley Bank?
One of the two. It was dominoes.
They were boom, boom, boom. And then, but when one of them hit, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait. Man, Bitcoin's going to go down to like 14 or something, or like, and I looked up, it's like, it's 8% up in a day. I'm like, oh, so a bank fails and Bitcoin goes up. A crypto bank fails and Bitcoin goes up. And then the next week, or maybe it was the next day even, it was very soon, another crypto bank failed, Bitcoin goes up another 10%. I'm like, oh, so this is happening. That was the most Bitcoin, from my perspective, the most Bitcoin-like, end of fiat scenario that I've ever seen. I don't remember seeing anything early. I mean, I wasn't around in 2016 or 17, but that was just numbers on a screen. Like I don't remember if there's any real causation for Bitcoin going up other than just adoption. But when I saw that, say that again. No, I was just saying, when I saw that Bitcoin go up with in the light of those banks failing, I'm like, this is it, man. What's next? But of course, fiat, Janet Yellen, the Treasury, and all, they've said, no. These other banks, integral with, they say, integral is systemic health, or some quote that I used recently in one of my videos. But it's like, no, they're not going to let those banks, they're not going to let JP Morgan just go. If it goes, they would have done everything they possibly can to preserve it, or it would have been a controlled demolition, and all those assets would have funneled in the proper way to preserve the entire system. But once they can no longer pull any levers to do that, I'm so certain that Bitcoin is going to blow up. But for right now, Bitcoin is in kind of like a little lockstep with the fiat system, but that's not going to be for forever.
I do believe that institutions using Bitcoin as collateral, right? I do believe that they want Bitcoin to go up. However, they want to make sure that they are in the correct position for that to occur.
That's right.
It's like, you don't want it to go up without you being at the table where you want to be seated, right? You want to be at your favorite spot. You want to be having your favorite thing. And then, all right, go ahead, start the fireworks. I'm ready.
Musical chairs kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, let's make fun of BSV. I've been
yeah. So again, like I said, Jameson Lopp prediction. He said, hey, Bitcoin Lightning Network channels will exceed the entire market cap of BSV by the end of 25. He called it. BSV market cap 350 million. Bitcoin value on the Lightning Network 5-10 million. Now I'll caveat, Phil. The the value on the Lightning channels, and maybe you could speak to this a little better than me, is not the same as the ability to transact on the Lightning channels. Somehow the total value is going to be higher than the overall transaction power. Like maybe it's half of that or a fraction of that. But Lop called this one. That's what some people are saying. Maybe it was a bunch of B cashers and BSVers trying to counter his post.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so you're saying 5-10 million on the channels? That's 5-10 million that can go back and forth.
Absolutely. Okay. It's 100%. It can, like, that is the whole point. Yeah, a lot of these guys. So look, the problem is this, right? A lot of them did not take the time to actually understand Lightning. Look, and as a result, their whole view of Lightning is completely skewed. I've had discussions, and this is recent, right? Like, we'll say within the last 2 years, I've had discussions with shitcoiners that think that there's a separate token on the Lightning network, and that token is not Bitcoin. Like, they're not realizing that this is a hash time lock. Like, they're not realizing that this is essentially a multi-sig. Right. That's all it is. They're not even paying attention to the fact that there is a transaction fee being paid to open the channel. Do the transactions, then you close the channel and you pay the fee. Hey, good night, BTC Moon guy. So yeah, it's ridiculous. It's complete nonsense. Now, the other interesting point about this is, right, all that Jameson and any of us have access to is public Lightning channel information. We have zero insight into private Lightning channels that are open between peers.
At least 5-10 million.
So we have no idea whatsoever. And this is hilarious because the amount of BSVers that used to sit there and say that Lightning is dead and it doesn't work. Well, guess what? Your shitcoin is now worth even less than
the layer 2
thing that you said was dead. So, I mean, can these people, and can they continue to take L's? And you know what's really scary is that I still see, and these are real people because they pop up in spaces. They have a real voice. I don't know if they're actually paid, I've seen them. But
and they'll DM you too.
It actually says in their profile, BSV is the real Bitcoin. It's like, I mean, haven't you had enough? Like, it's like, haven't you? I mean, I don't know. Anyways, it's a great way to start off 2026, right? Nice big L. Congrats to Jameson for getting that one right.
And it's a good way to end our show today. I'd like to thank the audience for joining us for our first Bitcoin Tonight of the 2026 year. And Phil, take it away.
Oh yeah. Before we say goodnight, yes, indeed, Rourke. Liquid is different. It is different. But yeah, that's not Lightning. That's not Lightning.
That's another layer 2.
Yeah, it's completely different, and it's pretty much that's like Blockstream's own. If you think about it, it's like a corporate layer 2. But I know that there's people that have talked about using Liquid. I personally do not. I just never really took the time to learn about it. Frankly, I don't really care. But anyways, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Bitcoin Tonight. Like, maybe subscribe. Guys, we are going to catch you next week on Bitcoin Tonight. And of course, I'm going to catch you all tomorrow, 12:10 p.m. Eastern, for the daily news. Have a great evening. And yes, Happy New Year, everybody. 2026, let's freaking go.